down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. We're heading into week 13. Some of the playoff races we feel like have been determined over the past week, but some of them also are still wide open, including, lucky for you, the NFC South with the Falcons beating the Saints. I have a good idea that the answer is positive, but how are you doing anyway?
Oh, man, I am doing great. And on multiple levels, I am doing great. But right now, I'm better than Patriots fans, I suppose, or Saints fans, or Panthers fans. Bucks. I mean, anybody in the NFC
Throw Seattle in there, maybe.
Yeah, you can throw Seattle in there. Sure. They got stomped out as well. But yeah, the Patriots, I think it might be tank time at this point, and a lot of people are wondering if Bill Belichick is going to get replaced as the coach, which seems really weird. Can you imagine a Patriots team without Bill Belichick? And what does he do? He has to ride off into the sunset, right? Nobody's going to take Bill Belichick at that age, right? I mean, does he still want to coach?
Dude, like 28 teams will hire him on the spot.
You think?
Yeah.
At his age, though, because we've seen the fall. We've seen the fall, all right? And a lot of people have the narrative of, it was all Tom Brady, obviously, right? That entire empire was Tom Brady. As soon as he left, it all fell apart. But I don't know. Maybe somebody will give him a chance. I don't know. Maybe he'll be coaching for the Giants next year or something. But
wow.
Yeah, the Patriots are definitely going to lose out, I believe. they may, by circumstance, get a win before the end of the season. But, yeah, they're going to be vying for a new quarterback, obviously. But how are you, Alex?
I'm good. I'm better than Ohio State fans.
Hey, they did lose. They did.
They did lose. I'm going with that. We'll talk about college later on. I guess I could have gone Seattle as well, but I already brought that up.
Did you get on the Ohio State bandwagon last week?
No, I never would. I never would. I don't really like Ohio State that much anyway.
I thought maybe you did it to jinx them, and I was like,
I tried to go on the Washington bandwagon to jinx them, but we'll see how that works this week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they got
purely to jinx stuff. I don't want them to win.
Yeah.
We'll see how that turns out after this week. But looking at the NFL, of course, we have a couple of things we discussed before we predict this week, and one of them is our weekly MVP watch. Now, I believe 12 weeks in a row picked Tua to be the NFL MVP, right? And sometimes I've said it's close, and sometimes it's not close. Sometimes he really ran away with it. I'm making the switch today, and I looked at this for like a serious amount of time to be sure I'm not switching just to be a homer. I believe that Brock Purdy is statistically the best quarterback in the NFL this season, and I'm picking him to win the MVP. Tua still has an argument, but after this week, they're very, very close. They're very close. I'm going with Purdy. He has best pass rating in the league. He has a better touchdown to interception ratio than Jalen Hurts, than Tua, than Josh Allen. Better completion percentage. I'm taking Purdy. Yeah, he's statistically, I've seen people say this and they're absolutely right. If Brock Purdy, Richard Sherman said this, by the way, if Brock Purdy was a first round pick, you'd be talking about him along with Patrick Mahomes as the face of the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right about that. I don't know that I'm ready to go with Purdy yet because he has such a hard road. Because he was Mr. Irrelevant, right? He has such a hard road in front of him that he almost has to be way better than everyone else, you know? He not only has to be statistically better, he has to be better in every category imaginable. Better than Tua, better than Hurts, better than Mahomes, better than Allen, better than Lamar. Like, he has to be that much better because of where he was drafted. And I think Richard Sherman is onto something there. I don't know. Like, it's hard to pick him at this point. I'd say he's in the running, but someone else is going to have to fall off. I'm sticking with Tua right now. I think he's still probably is the most likely candidate at this time. A lot of turnovers. People are starting to talk about the turnovers with Tua, but everybody's got turnovers this season. There is not a perfect quarterback in the league this season like we've seen of seasons past. Everybody's having a rough time. Tua is still my favorite out of them, but I would put Purdy probably in second at this point in time. A lot of people are going to say Hurts and Allen and Lamar and probably leave Purdy out, but he deserves his credit. I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you get drafted, right? It matters what you do.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you play? Yeah. That's all that matters. So the other thing we do, and this one might be a bit difficult this week, actually. Guess the biggest spread is this game that we play, that you play every week. To guess the biggest spread of the upcoming weekend in the NFL. I would wager a bet that this week you might not get it.
Okay.
I think this week's hard.
So it's probably not the obvious one I'm looking at then.
There's a lot of close ones, I guess, is why I'm saying
I agree. Yeah, usually teams like the Eagles would be candidates for this, where they're playing the 49ers this week. That's not going to be the case. Chiefs have not been putting up tons of points, and the Packers got a win last week, so they are looking decent on offense. So that would have stood out, but maybe not so much this week here. Jaguars and Bengals without Burrow. You would think this is going to be an easy win for the Jaguars, but the Chargers and Patriots after that, but the Chargers don't win anyway, so who cares? Lions and Saints. Lions are coming off of a loss also. The one that stands out, the one that's obvious, is the Dolphins and Commanders. But I have a feeling you're going to tell me that's not it.
That is it, actually.
Okay.
You did get
sweet.
it. See, I thought because they were on the road, like the Dolphins are on the road, I thought you wouldn't pick him because that makes a difference for 3 points.
Well, I've noticed something.
They're 9.5 points favorites in Washington.
Wow. Yeah, I've noticed something with the Commanders though. Teams that are below 500, they put up tons of points on. But when they have played elite teams, they have gotten blown out this year. They even got, I guess, kind of blown out by the Bears, which is nowhere near an elite team. But they have hung in there with some bad teams, and they've been blown out by good teams. So it made sense that the Dolphins would be the highest spread.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are like your definition of mediocre this year, right? Like, they play a bad team, they win. They play a good team, they lose. You know, the Sam Howell line, I guess.
Yeah, he might be the new Andy Dalton going forward.
Though he leads the league in passing yards, statistically speaking, he's pretty good. But, he might be the new Andy Dalton for now this season.
Absolutely.
That could be. There's 2 games that are 9-point spreads, whereas this one is 9.5. Both of these are home teams. So, you were right. You picked the correct one. Dolphins on the road, 9.5. But let's get into these here. How are our standings from last week?
Oh, man.
Please. Good news. No.
Yeah, it's good for me.
Oh, no.
Really good news for me.
Man.
Oh, man, I think I might have had the best week I've ever had. Hey,
Wow.
Man, if the Bills would have pulled out a win and the Lions would have pulled out a win, I would have had a perfect week. I picked 14 games correct last week. And
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we disagreed on 6 games. You got one of them. You got one of them right. Because you picked the Eagles and I picked the Bills. Other than that, I got them all right.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's rough.
Yeah.
14 is crazy. And it might as well have been the Bills. In fact, probably should have been the Bills.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get that one too. Yeah, I thought for sure.
They were going to. And the Lions was a pretty obvious pick.
I
too.
was afraid that the Bears were going to blow it for me because that one I was like, well, I guess 13 correct picks is still pretty good, but they couldn't. Bears came through in the end, and that was a horrible game, man. I lost some fantasy weeks because of that game right there. All I needed was a passing touchdown from somebody on the Bears, because I had a lot of Bears players on a couple of teams, and I lost by like 1 or 2 points in several instances. But
wow,
all I needed was a touchdown, and all we got were field goals. But total for me was 14 on the week and 10 for you, which actually puts me back in the lead at 109 for the season to your 107.
That's a comeback.
Boom.
My God.
Yes.
14 out of 14 for 16 is big. All right, I gotta I look pretty good at this week here and make sure I make some good decisions. Wow. Yeah, I remember we had a huge disagreement week and you won almost all of them. That is bad. Yeah. That's rough. Okay, I gotta put up big here. Starting out Thursday night, my personal meteor game, Seahawks at the Cowboys.
So you want both of them to lose somehow. Yeah, probably not going to happen.
That is right.
The Cowboys coming off of another stomping on Thanksgiving. Poor Commanders, like I said, they can't beat elite teams. Seahawks coming off of a loss. This one is in Dallas. Let's make this simple. Pete Carroll always finds a way to win, but not when he faces really good teams. And I know you hate that term, but the Cowboys are a really good team. Cowboys are going to win this one at home.
Are they a really good team? Didn't they lose by 35 to the Niners?
Yeah, I mean, they're not elite. They're just really good.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I can go with that. They're good. They're good enough to believe that they'll beat everyone, but not good enough to beat everyone.
Oh, yeah. They're fans.
Which happens almost every year at some point during the regular season. With Dallas, yeah, I can agree with that. I'm taking them to win this one as well. They are 9-point favorites, by the way. They are one of the biggest favorites this entire weekend, which seems a bit excessive to me. I know people are hyping them up, and Dak has had a couple of good weeks back-to-back. I'm not taking anything of that away from them, but I don't know. I don't believe in them as much as people do. Come playoff time, I still don't see them making a deep push, but we'll see how it goes. They should and will beat Seattle, and with that, I guess all but finish up the division title for San Francisco. So I guess that's a good help we could get there from Dallas. 4-1, so if they beat Seattle, that'd be appreciated. We have the Chargers at the Patriots.
Unfortunately, this might be a tank bowl. I feel sorry for the Chargers fans. I guess that's just the eternal state that the Chargers organization is going to be in. Every year they have the pieces to win, and every year they do not win. Poor Phillip Rivers. Here he is again. Patriots, on the other hand, are tanking, so this is good news for you guys. You're probably going to win this one. I don't think the Patriots want to win, like I pointed out earlier. Maybe Bill Belichick still wants to save his job. Maybe it's too late for that. I don't know. The Mac Jones situation. Mac Jones looks like he doesn't want his job. I'll tell you that. Bailey Zappi is not going to save anything. They're not going to win with Bailey Zappi. I don't know. Bring in Malik Cunningham or something, because neither one of those quarterbacks look like they want to win. And let's get us a high pick. I'll be picking the Chargers on the road.
Yeah, give me the Chargers as well. I think they're done with playoff contention now with another pretty underwhelming performance. I expected Brandon Staley to be out on Monday morning, and I was slightly surprised that he wasn't. Guys, it feels like a broken record now. We're speaking about the Chargers every week, but they are a double-digit win roster with a coach that just can't get it done. The defense is perpetually the weaker of the two units, and the head coach is defensive-minded. This team desperately needs an overhaul in all the important positions. Front office, coaching staff, a lot needs to happen in the offseason if you want to stop wasting Justin Herbert's career like you did Phillip Rivers' career. Hopefully that happens sooner than later, and maybe if they lose this week, it'll be the catalyst to finally kickstart that process. Otherwise, it needs to happen in the offseason. But it is the Patriots, it is New England. They are devoid of talent and injury ridden, so I will take the Chargers to win this one. The Lions at the Saints.
I don't feel bad about the Lions in this loss. It was on Thanksgiving, which that's what they do. They lose on Thanksgiving, but this team is so much better than all of those other teams that lost on Thanksgiving. But it was the Packers. I think the Packers are actually getting better, so I'm not going to hold it against the Lions here. You lose divisional matchups sometimes. That's just how it happens. And the Saints, without their key pieces, we've seen without their receivers out there, this team is horrible, and they cannot get anything going on offense. When Alvin Kamara is the only elite asset you have on the entire team, you're not going to win a lot of games. You'll put up 14 points, 15. That's what you put up this past week. That's about right for a team like that, even against the Falcons. Taking the Lions. The Lions are going to use this as a get-right game and stomp out the Saints on the road.
It feels like you're slightly invested in that pick anyway, from a personal side, but that's fair. Yeah, Lions are a better team, and I'll take them. I'll take them to win. And kind of the parallel to this game right away is very important implications for the NFC South. The Falcons are playing the Jets, so this could be the opportunity for you guys to put a whole game between yourselves and the rest of the division. If the Saints were to lose, which we both say, Falcons at the Jets.
Yeah, this is a must-win for the Falcons. I feel like maybe we're getting over the hump here. Desmond Ritter's still throwing a few picks, but so is Tua. Nothing wrong with that as long as we still put up points in the end. And there was some beautiful passes, especially when Bijan Robinson is out there going crazy. This team is really explosive on offense. They have the pieces. They have explosive offensive weapons. Just use them, Arthur. Don't stop now. Let's not go back to... let's just let Jonnu have this whole game. That's how you lose. That's how you lose, Arthur. This right here, that's how you win. You use your stars, you win. It's that simple. This is the Jets. You know they're not going to put up a lot of points. That defense might show up and might hold you to a few points, but that offense is not going to put up a lot of points. Falcons, as long as they use their stars, are going to win this one on the road.
Yeah, I'm also encouraged by what I saw from the Falcons. It feels like they were finally like able to incorporate those players. Because Drake London had a couple of big plays. Of course, Bijan was probably the best player on the field and carried them to a win. And that's what we said for a long time they were able to do. They have the pieces there, like you said. I'm encouraged by seeing it finally come together and they make the most of it and beat the Seahawks in a key game, which is where not the Seahawks, the Saints, where many times before they kind of fell short. I guess another team beat the Seahawks in a key game. I guess my mind was kind of on that, many times the Falcons have fallen short in these kinds of situations where they just underachieved and somehow lost to a team that had an inferior roster. I think the Jets don't necessarily have an inferior roster, but the offensive system is in complete shambles. And this is a very good opportunity for Atlanta to string together back-to-back wins and catch a ton of momentum going into the tail end of the season and potentially the postseason. If those guys can get into a groove, yeah, this is a dangerous team. And I think they'll put themselves in a good position to make the playoffs. I think Atlanta wins, and if so it happens, good signs. But I would like to see them do it on back-to-back games. It hasn't happened that much. Cardinals and the Steelers.
I was thinking something though before we move on. Aaron Rodgers might just trot out onto that field for no good reason and play against the Falcons. That's my kind of luck with the Falcons. I'm thinking we're going to get Nick Boyle out there or Boyle, whichever Boyle is playing.
I don't know. Probably. I guess it's Boyle again. Yeah. I think that's what they said.
Either one. I'll take him or I'll take Zach. Just don't let Aaron Rodgers show up on that field. Like. It seems.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
It seems like a thing he would do. Like tell everybody, no, I'm still weeks away from coming back, and then you see him just trot out on the field, and then you're like, oh.
I can see that. I can see that.
That was our win. Anyway, Steelers are coming off of a win. You fire Matt Canada, you win a game. This is like the 2-game bump, and I was wondering if it works for offensive coordinators also. It obviously does. You're going to get another one right here because you happen to be facing the Cardinals, who are one of the worst teams in the league. Even with Kyler Murray, they can't win. So, unless they're facing the Falcons, but we won't talk about that anymore. Here's the thing, though. That offense was firing. Kenny Pickett was playing well for like 6 throws right there at the beginning of the game. Then it kind of fell apart. Like, yeah, the offense was working at points, and then there was times that it wasn't. But people only see the win, and they're like, "That's it. We fixed the offense." I don't think it's fixed yet. It's better maybe without Matt Canada, but you're gonna have to use this as even a bigger get right game. Like, yeah, you're coming off a win, but you need to go out there and put up 30 points on the Cardinals. That's a defense you can do it to. That's how you're going to get these players back in line after Matt Canada's leaving. I'll take the Steelers at home.
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers as well. I'll say the offense did look better, but didn't really execute better than they did before. If you look at points, like yards, yeah, sure, but if you look at points, there's still a lot of improvement there, and they only won that game because they played against the Burrow-less Bengals. If Joe Burrow was out there, they lost it. Yeah. They lose that game. I'm convinced they lose that game. And that's, having to rely on that is not the mark of a great team. Yet, the Steelers definitely are I think they're not as good as their record, but they are good, and they have a chance to get better, and they're in the race. This division is rock solid in the AFC North. You have 3 potential number 1 or 2 seeds for the entire conference, is the way it's looking at the moment, with Miami and Kansas City and Buffalo all struggling. A lot can happen. Steelers have to keep winning. This must win. It's at home against one of the worst teams in the league. I don't have full confidence in the fact that they are on the same level with the Browns and the Ravens, though, because it still lacks execution to me at some point. It's like the offenses, the key players in offense are still a bit younger for the Steelers. And yes, Mike Tomlin makes up for a lot of that with his coaching experience, but I would still pull my horses on the Steelers a little bit. A lot of them have them in the top 10 this week in power rankings. Record-wise, yes. Eye test, I'd be skeptical. They're good. They're above average. I don't know if they're on the same level as those other 2, but I welcome them to prove me wrong because I like them the best out of the 3. So I'm definitely rooting for them. See how it goes. Against Arizona, though, this is a definite win for the Steelers. Colts and Titans.
This division, the AFC South, is way better than anyone thought that was going to be going into this season. There had to be an odd man out, right? The Titans, but the Titans aren't even that bad. They're actually playing really well and winning some games. You know, they're not putting up 40 on people, but they can win some games. They're good enough to do that. The Colts and the Texans are really surprising at how good they are, especially the Colts here without Anthony Richardson, which I think they're probably winning more because Anthony Richardson is out. This team is actually really good. And that's just it. They're better than the Titans. The Titans have hope for the future because they have their new quarterback also. And he's actually playing decent for how many games he's played. You know, probably better than Desmond Ridder had at that many games into his career. Yep, I'm going to stick with the Colts, though. We'll stick with the hot hand. I'll take the Colts on the road.
I do agree. Gardner Minshew and the Colts. He's been keeping the team above water, and it'll be very difficult to make the playoffs in an AFC generally this year, because the AFC is usually a very stacked conference, has been for a while. In this division, we have the Jaguars, who we expected to be good. They are good. The Texans, who we did not expect to be good, and they are good. Colts are treading water at least. They're not going down. Titans, a little underachieving, and we'll see what happens there going forward. But the Colts are looking alright, and I will take them to win this one as well. The Dolphins at the Washingtons, and we already know this is the biggest spread of the week here with 9.5 for the road team.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious though. The Commanders, like I said earlier, they lose to elite teams, and the Dolphins are absolutely an elite team. We've seen them struggle in certain halves of games throughout this year, but we haven't seen them struggle for an entire game this entire season, at least not in recent memory that I can think of right offhand. The Dolphins are way better than the Commanders. The Commanders will go down at home. Dolphins win.
I absolutely agree. By the way, did you see that first episode of Hard Knocks with the Dolphins?
I haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
You gotta watch it. It's really good. Yeah, Mike McDaniel's awesome. Great character, and so is Tua. Like, Tua's a really good guy. I really like both of those guys. Yeah. They're good characters to watch. Very different to what we usually see on Hard Knocks, the way that they like talk and communicate on the sideline. Because so much of what we had in Hard Knocks was like these like army style yelling coaches, you know, like Dan Campbell, just scream at him and like always close to heart attack kind of thing. And Mike McDaniel is a completely different. I've never heard him raise his voice one time. It doesn't matter. During the games, practices, nothing. So, real good. Really, really breath of fresh air for Hard Knocks whenever you usually get all these meatheads. So, it's definitely interesting watch. I recommend it to anyone. Dolphins win at the Commies. We have the Broncos and the Texans.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. The post-hype sleepers did it again, right? They're on a tear right now. They just beat a really good defense. And I know Russell is not he's not throwing for 500 yards, but he's playing much better. And this team is now 6-5. They are above 500. This team is probably going to the playoffs. That trend, doesn't let me down. Like, I thought it was going to this year. I thought, well, that's the end of that trend, right? No, it doesn't let me down. Here they are. They're winning, and they're going to continue winning, especially against the Browns, right? I'm sorry, not the Browns. They played the Browns last week. Against the Texans right here. Unfortunately, I like C.J. Stroud. Man, it's going to be tough. But I still think the Broncos are going to win, even on the road, because the Texans are still young. They're still blowing games here and there. They're going to be good in the future. But right now, the Broncos are taking this one on the road.
All right. It's time to make a stand here, right? In multiple ways. Number one, I have to gain points on you. Number two, I'm not letting these Broncos keep winning. No. I work too hard for this not to happen. I'm picking Houston at home. I believe in CJ Stroud. Love the guy. He's great. Offensive Rookie of the Year. D'Amico Ryans. Obviously, I'm a homer. He's been a great defensive coordinator for San Francisco, so I really like that guy as well, and I hope he's a good coach, and he looks like he's a good coach, which is great. I'm taking the Texans to win, stand their ground against the Broncos. I don't want anyone getting false idea about the Broncos. I have enough ears full with the Cowboys talking this year until they eventually go to the playoffs and play against an actually good team. I don't need the Broncos there as well. They were supposed to suck. They were supposed to be bad, and I hope they return right back to that point. I don't want to imagine them somehow making the playoffs. Don't want to think about it. Texans win. Panthers and the Bucs.
Listen, I've never loved the Broncos at all. I just see the trend and call it when it happens. So, yeah, it's not that I really want them there. It's just that that's how this plays out. Like I can't help it. That's how it works. Anyway, the Panthers are really bad. Man, I feel sorry for Bryce Young. The fan base is actually kind of revolting now. You're starting to see people pop up like, why didn't we get C.J. Stroud? Why are we stuck with Bryce Young? Let's go ahead and draft another one. And now, Frank Wright got fired, right? Yeah. It looks bad in Pantherville right now. So, unfortunately, the Bucs will be the lucky ones on the end of this one. I don't know if Baker's still hurt though, isn't he? I don't think it's. Yeah,
might be.
I would like to
Not
see
sure.
Kyle Trask come in and do something in this game because he still hasn't gotten his shot. I would like to see it. I think if Kyle Trask comes in, they still win this game. I'm picking the Bucs at home.
What happened to the 2-game bump here for the Panthers? Is they just don't get it? Are they too bad for it?
Oh man, yeah. That's the second time this year I've forgotten about that trend. Watch the Panthers win this game. I bet it happens.
I'm picking them for sure, right? The curse has to be real.
Yeah.
Like I'll take the Panthers. Unironically, I mean the Bucs have been volatile to say the least. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback, and the thing is, like, Frank Reich is not a bad coach, so I tend to believe that this is not necessarily his fault, and he's sort of just the scapegoat for just a bad situation. It's probably more of like an ownership thing, and also the roster is not that good. Bryce Young definitely needs more time to develop, and hopefully he'll be able to get into a steady situation with a new coach that will allow him to do so. A name that's been thrown around, and I don't know how serious this is for the Panthers head coaching job. I've heard about Greg Olsen being discussed.
Oh wow!
How'd you like that?
Boomer.
I would love that. That'd be cool. Actually, I wouldn't like that because he's probably the best commentator in the NFL at this point.
Oh, he's really good.
Him or Tony Romo.
But he would be kind of returning back home because of all the years he spent with the Panthers.
Yeah, he played for the Panthers for a long time. Me, for very selfish reasons, prefer him to stay on TV because he's one of the best commentators they have, along with Tony Romo. But it would certainly be an interesting thing to see more of that trend that was started sort of by Jeff Saturday, right, last year, where they elevate a former player into head coaching, not a career coach, but a former player. Which, interesting experiment. I mean, I'd be curious to see how it goes. But then again, Bryce Young needs to have a stable environment in order to develop into the quarterback that he's supposed to be also. But in this case, he's going to play well. I think he's going to play pretty freely. I think the whole team is going to play freely. They know the season's over. Everyone's kind of interviewing for their own job now that probably new regime is coming in. So Panthers win at Tampa Bay. 2-game bump, at least 1-game bump. Panthers get it done. We have the Browns and the Rams.
If that does work, I will never question that trend again.
That would be great.
Because the Panthers are absolutely the worst team in the league right now. But
and they play the Saints next week, which I think you want that 2-game bump to work.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them getting 2 wins here. Yeah, that
exactly
wouldn't be bad
within the division, you know.
Yeah. Too bad I went ahead and picked the Bucs first. I'd change my pick, but he needs a QB whisperer. He needs one of those coaches. There's not many that haven't been taken. But what do you think about Eric Bieniemy going down to Panther Land?
Entirely possible. I think he's doing a good job with Sam Howell. I think it'll be up to probably his choice. Like he decided, I believe that he decided to take that job with Washington over Kansas City in order to gain a little more independence, step out of the shadow of Andy Reid, because it's very difficult to get into a head coaching job if the head coach you work under is also calling the same side of the ball as you and is a legend like Andy Reid and a genius like Andy Reid. So maybe that's the next step for Bieniemy as a head coach. It could be. He's certainly one of the candidates that would get a shot at some point. Though, of course, the Washington offense hasn't looked as brilliant as they maybe hoped they would. But maybe all in due time, it would definitely be an interesting one. I'm thinking usually you'll see like the very successful coordinators get those head coaching jobs. So usually it's the better teams that lose coordinators. But it would be an interesting idea for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Browns and the Ravens. The Rams. The Rams. Browns and the Rams.
Yeah, fortunately the Ravens are off this week. But the Browns and the Rams, it's kind of a funny rhyme too, the Browns and the Rams. The Browns are in quarterback peril right now. DTR went out of that game, and PJ Walker had a rough time coming in, and it was horrible. I don't think this team's going to get anything going offensively short of Deshaun Watson coming back, and that's obviously not going to happen this season. So as good as that defense is, they're going to be kind of like the Jets for the rest of the season, I believe. Unless, PJ Walker can pull it together. We've seen him win before, but this past game was absolutely horrid. And the Rams had something going, man. They looked like they were kind of back in form. Cooper Kupp is hurting still. I don't know that we're going to see a lot of Cooper Kupp going forward, but Puka Nacua is still going to be the star there. And Kyron Williams coming back. He had a big game. Yeah, welcome back, Kyron. I am picking the Rams to continue their win streak at home.
Wow. I guess we have 3 disagreements here in a row after starting off agreeing on every game. I'm taking the Browns. Yeah. Because the Browns somehow have a stellar record without any sort of consistent quarterback play all year, and that is thanks to their defense. And the Rams, while not having particularly consistent quarterback play either, because Matthew Stafford isn't the kind of person to stay healthy all the time nowadays, they have ups and downs. They just got done beating up on little brother Cardinals. I don't think that makes them that good of a contestant. I don't know. Maybe I feel like the Rams are a bit overhyped after that one win. They have been anything but consistent this year. I think they're probably going to end up scoring like 10 points or something or less against Cleveland this week. And home advantage doesn't really exist for the LA teams either. So yeah, I'm going Browns. Purely based on defense, they're going to win the game.
Wow.
Hope I'm not taking too many risks here, so I don't lose any more points. But, yeah.
Blinded by your hate, man.
I guess so, but I mean, I don't like. Listen, I don't like the Browns either. I do not like the Cleveland Browns. The Rams aren't even a threat to the division really anymore. So I don't know, but yeah, there you go. Game of the week: Niners and the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles are still running that gauntlet, huh? They're just stacking it up for them, and they keep knocking it down. And it almost feels like the NFL is just like, come on, Eagles, you have to be in this Super Bowl. It has to be. And I'm guessing they still want the Kelsey versus Kelsey matchup, and get the two Swifts on the screen at the same time for some reason. I don't know.
How are they gonna pull that off?
the Eagles, I don't feel like they should be winning this this much. Like, I've watched them play, and I'm like, they're not really that good, right? Like, I know they win in the end, but they're not that good. And it's hard for me to say that because as a Georgia fan, I watch the Eagles and go, wow, all of those players I were cheering for over the past few years. This is the Georgia Eagles right here, or the Philadelphia Bulldogs. So I don't want to hate on them. I just really don't think they're as good as they, I don't know. And I can't even say pretend to be because they win. They're freaking 10-1 right now. I don't know, man. That makes this really tough because the 49ers, if not the second best team in the league, they're in the top 5 for sure. And then the Eagles are coming off of a win over the Bills and the Chiefs. This is a really tough game, man. I guess I'm just going to go with the home team because I keep picking against the Eagles and they keep winning. And we're going to have another disagreement. I'm going to pick the Eagles at home.
I'm going to give the bookmakers credit for a lot of credit, which I usually don't do. Usually I only ever criticize them for bad spreads. I will give them credit for this one. San Francisco, 3-point favorite at Philadelphia this weekend.
Wow, really?
And I'm 100% on that. I am 100% on that side. Yup.
I bet you are.
I will take the Niners to win that game. This Eagles team is probably, possibly the worst 10-1 team ever. They are good. They are top 5 team in the league. Let me say that right up front. They are extremely beatable. They should have been beaten by the Bills. They were beaten by the Jets. Could have easily lost to the Chiefs if they scored a single point in the second half. And then against the Cowboys, it also came down to the final minutes. This team could, like, easily, they could be 7-4. I mean, easily. Couple of things, right? They're good. They're fine. They're not as good as they were last year. They are much more torchable than they were last year. And the Niners are fully healthy. They are better than they were last year with their entire roster. They're going into Philadelphia and winning because this is the most critical game that we have this week with playoff implication. If you want any chance for the NFC Championship game to be in San Francisco, you have to win today. Because otherwise you're 8-4, the Eagles 11-1. The Eagles are the 1 seed. If they win, they're the 1 seed, which is a big incentive. But you want that NFC Championship game, and you're looking far in the future here. There's a lot of football left to be played, but you want that game to not be in Philadelphia. And if you don't want that game to be in Philly, you have to win in Philly this week. It's unfortunate that this game isn't in San Francisco because I think, like, just for fairness, it should be. You know, the last NFC Championship game, of course, was in San Francisco. It was in Philadelphia, and there's a good chance the next one will be as well. But I'm hoping, and I believe that the Niners are ready to win, to beat this team. This Eagles team is limited. They are good, but they don't have the kind of passing offense the Niners have. They don't have the kind of passing offense a lot of teams in this league have. They have a good defense. They have the best offensive line. They can run the ball, and Jalen Hurts is a dual threat. He's more of a running threat than anything else, but they also seem to get a very interesting amount of favorable calls this year, or have been for whatever reason. We saw that once again last week against the Buffalo Bills, but I think the Niners will be able to do it. I still believe in the red and purple Super Bowl logo thing. True. I think the NFC Championship game will ultimately be in San Francisco, and the Niners beat the Eagles. And they're beating the Eagles this week. I'm taking them. They get it done. Brock Purdy, MVP. Yeah. Beat out Jalen Hurts, MVP. If I pick Brock to be the MVP, I have to pick the Niners here. Mm-hmm. And I think it is entirely winnable. I think it's very doable. These Eagles aren't invincible.
I agree with you on all that. It's just that I keep losing picks by not picking the Eagles.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd probably have like 5 more wins if I would actually pick the Eagles on all of those.
That's true.
But I don't see how they're winning. You watch them and you're like, okay, they're not good enough to beat this team. Especially the Bills last week. They got behind. They had to pull off a comeback. And the many points in that game, I'm like, okay, the Bills are easily going to win this now. But yet the Eagles always win in the end. I don't know.
They're good enough to beat every team, but they are not that good that they're like definitively better than every team.
No, because it's a last-second win in every game.
Yeah, on any given day, they can win. Like, they can win the Super Bowl for sure. But yeah, I think Niners are a better team. I think they just are a better team top to bottom. So I will take them. Not a homer thing. If I was not a Niners fan, I would still pick them this week. I promise I would. And that is more to do with the Eagles than with the Niners. They are beatable. They are very beatable. And I think it happens this week. Let's pray. Chiefs. Chiefs and the Packers on Sunday night.
Hey, the Packers are coming off of a win. They looked really good in that game. Beating the Lions on Thanksgiving. Like I said earlier, I don't know if that's a symptom of the Packers just being that much better, or the Lions are just supposed to win or supposed to lose on Thanksgiving. But I think this offense is getting better. We've seen flashes from Jordan Love all season, showing that he can be something. I don't think he gets replaced at the end of the season. I think he gets a new contract. I think he's going to be there for at least 2 to 3, 4 more years, a whole nother contract or whatever. At least that, and he may actually be good enough to be a serviceable quarterback, if not elite someday, who knows. But on the other side, you do have an elite quarterback, and finally, the Chiefs can put up points in the second half. Once everybody started talking about it, like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? They can't put up points in the second half. Then they don't put up anything in the first, hardly. They get way behind, and they're like, okay, watch this. We can pull up and come back, too. And then they end up putting up a ton of points in the second half and winning the game fairly easily. That's why, right now, I'm going with the Chiefs on the road.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take Kansas City. I think the Packers, it will certainly came as a surprise that they went in and beat the Lions, and they started off. See, the thing over here is, like, whenever it's Thanksgiving, like, is my chance to, like, introduce football to a bunch of my friends that usually don't watch it. And I always end up looking like a fool. I'm like, oh yeah, the Lions, they're good, right? They're gonna wipe the floor with them. And then, like, I look up 10 minutes later and it's like 17-0 for the Packers, and I don't know what happened. Feels like that kind of thing happens every year to me. I don't get it, but I think the Chiefs should get this done. The Packers aren't that good. The Chiefs aren't that good either. They've been definitely playing below their standards this entire year, and we've seen that happen. We've seen those symptoms, but they finally found their way back into, playing a full 60 minutes of offense last week, and I think they'll continue to do so at Green Bay and right the ship here. You don't want the Broncos to suddenly knock on the door, right? If you're the Chiefs, like, if you lose and the Broncos win, you don't want any part of that. Nobody wants any part of that except for Broncos fans. So I will take the Chiefs to win here at Green Bay. And then we have the Bengals and the Jaguars to close it up on Monday night.
Yeah, speaking of another team on a roll right now, the Jaguars here. And the Bengals are losing just because Joe Burrow is not there. I don't even know if Jamar Chase wants to come back in this game. Because why? Why should he? I don't know. I mean, he'll probably play. Who knows? But there's no reason for him to be out there. He's kind of like Justin Jefferson. Like, yeah, if the team is winning with their backup, then yes, I'll come back. And I was just thinking they played on the same team also, so that makes sense. I think we may not see much of either one of them for the rest of the season if they're not going to win. All that to be said, that the Jaguars are going to win this one at home.
Yeah, I agree with that. This one is one of those that was scheduled before. Well, obviously it was scheduled to be a good game with Joe Burrow. Now he's out for the season, so it's not nearly as exciting. The Jets have had that issue a couple of times this year, and now it's hitting the Bengals. Jacksonville at home is just a slam dunk to win this one and take a good step towards winning this division as well. So I will take the Jaguars. You've mentioned the teams on bye already. We have the Ravens. I guess that's all right. The Bills, they're sitting at 6-6. The Bills are 500. Not looking too great. Bears, Raiders, Vikings, and Giants. I feel like most of these teams are probably quite happy with having a bye week just about now.
Wow. That is crazy that one of the guys who is mentioned in the MVP race is sitting at 6-6 right now. And that team is so much better than that record. It's crazy.
You got to show it, though. We have a couple of teams that are, right? Yeah. Chargers.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
You have to show it. Otherwise, what does it do?
Yeah. I don't think with their quarterback situation, I think the Browns are worse than their record.
Possible, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking through everyone that is different. I mean, the Texans, considering they are better than their record because they have the rookie quarterback and they started off with a slow start, but now they're winning tons of games. So technically, they're better than the record. I still want to say the Falcons are better than the record. I think they have the pieces to be better. I just don't think they're well coached. But yeah. But yeah, poor Bills, man. They should be 8-3 just like all the other elite teams right now.
That path to the playoffs is long and rocky at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna look. It's a tough one for sure, exactly given how the AFC is looking. I mentioned earlier, by the way, we talk about our MVP rankings every week, right before the show. Should have mentioned. You, the viewer, the listener, can go vote for your MVP favorite on our channel page, the community page. Every week we put out the poll, and I guess every week I have to say, again, I get to only list 4 options, right? I only get to list 4 options, so if there's an option like a candidate that you think should be the MVP or should be considered the MVP, or you find it disrespectful that they're not listed, because I always get comments saying like a random quarterback they like, or a defensive player, or running back, receiver. I hear a lot of Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Christian McCaffrey, all fair picks. I just know I don't get to list all those names. So what I usually do is I list like 4 of the statistically best quarterbacks in a very somber and objective way, because that's, I think, how the MVP should probably end up being determined. But you can go vote there. Let me know what you think about the MVP. You're going to I switched to Brock Purdy this week, but I'm curious to see. The community so far has voted for Tua every single week, as have we, except for me switching it up for Brock Purdy. Let's see how it works out. Switching over to the college world, it is it's Judgment Week, and needless to ask, you are on the Georgia train, even after a game that was closer than it should have been.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a rivalry game, but here's the thing that people really aren't pointing out in the media, that Georgia was playing backup players. There was no Brock Bowers, there was no Ra Thomas. Who else were we missing? I mean, the leading receiver was Dylan Bell, who is actually like a third stringer for like the wide receiver. I don't know why people think that we should have judged the team off of that game when all we were doing was running the ball against an inferior team. Now, the defense should have been better, but we're also missing like Tate Ratledge and a lot of key pieces on the defense. Hopefully, they're all going to be healthy for this Alabama game because we're going to need it. But as we saw, Alabama struggled mightily. And there was like, at one point in that game against Auburn, there was a 99% chance that Auburn was going to win that game. They're calling it the Milroe Miracle right now, because if you go back and watch that play, this guy snaps the ball. All the mistakes he made throughout this entire game, they're crediting him with the MVP level play at this. But if you go back and watch that man stood in the pocket for, I swear, 45 seconds. No one attempted to tackle this man. He just stood there and let players run around the field, until finally someone was open. Auburn gave that game away. I'm not mad about it, because now if Georgia beats Alabama, it's going to look better that they beat an 11-1 team rather than a 10-2 team. But I don't know. I think Georgia played better this past week than Alabama did, which gives me some hope. I just hope that our key players will be ready to go for that game.
Okay. So you're thinking you're not going to rest your starters this week then, yeah?
No,
okay.
No, please no.
Okay,
Kirby's been known to do that, though. Like, he waits until a player is 110% before he will put them on the field.
Well, this week you have to, right? This is
have to, yeah,
for everything.
Brock Bowers has to be out there this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some interesting scenarios developing for sure. With like the Michigan Ohio State thing, okay, that was decided a week earlier. We have Michigan winning, and they're going to make the playoff, and Ohio State has a long road ahead to find a path in there. And I think that road includes both Washington and Louisville winning this week. Because if like Oregon wins, they're ahead of Ohio State. They're ahead of Ohio State now. And Florida State's still undefeated, and they're playing number 10 Louisville this week, which could potentially be rough. Absolutely. So this is the one that Florida State could lose. I guess the three most important games, right? Oregon, Washington, Georgia, Bama, and Louisville, Florida State.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think Florida State loses to Louisville. I know Louisville just got beat up by Kentucky. That's an SEC team. No disrespect in getting beat up by an SEC team. Yeah, it happens.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
I think without their quarterback, FSU is not as good because, they beat Florida. But Florida with Sunbelt, Billy as the coach, Billy Napier, is not good at all. It is no feat to beat Florida at this point in time. I think Louisville is better than Florida State at this point in time because Florida is missing their quarterback, and they barely squeaked by Florida, who is really bad. And Florida was missing their quarterback too. Graham Mertz? They were missing Graham Mertz, so it's not saying that Florida is a good team to beat Florida, or Florida State is not a good team to beat Florida at this point in time. They're going to lose. Oregon's going to win. We're going to have Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and who gets the last one? Texas, maybe?
Texas?
Ooh. Yeah, if Alabama loses, they're not.
Yikes.
I don't think they're going to throw Alabama in there if they lose.
Oh, man. So, wait, so you're saying Georgia, Michigan, who else was it? Oregon?
Oregon, yeah, because they're going to beat Washington. That's going to drop Washington.
And who else?
And, we're going to hope it's not Ohio State.
I think it would be Ohio State even over Texas now. It might be Washington over Texas now. I don't know.
They definitely put teams in, like last year. They put TCU in after losing their conference championship. But they were undefeated before the conference championship. So maybe it is Washington. I hate when a team loses or doesn't play in their championship game and still makes the playoffs. It just doesn't seem right. And those teams always get knocked out anyway. So
I have an alternative suggestion for that fourth team.
What you got?
Undefeated Liberty. Up to number 20 in the ranks, about to be 13-0. I am fully endorsing and getting on that bandwagon because it's just this one more game at home, New Mexico State. It is impossible that this happens again. Liberty wins this one. I cursed Air Force. I cursed James Madison. This is not happening again. Liberty wins. They're going to be 13-0. They're going to be 13-0. 100%.
Could you imagine they just bump Liberty up like 15 spots or 16 or whatever it is?
There's plenty there's going to be some 4-loss teams ahead of Liberty if they don't.
Yeah. No. Too bad Tulane lost early in the season. They would have been in the mix also.
So that's right, yeah. The clearest that we can get here is if like Georgia, Washington, Florida State all win their key games, the top 4 are set in stone, right? That's the top 4 now. The only 4 undefeated teams, that would be the cleanest. Assuming that doesn't happen, here's my realist. I have 2 predictions. I have a realistic prediction and I really want this to happen prediction. Okay, so here's the realistic one. Georgia keeps winning. They're undefeated. They're going in number 1. Michigan, the same thing, number 1. Oregon beats Washington. I think they are the better team. And then Florida State also somehow finds a way to sneak past Louisville. We are going to have Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Florida State. Now that's my realistic prediction. Here's the I really want this to happen prediction, okay?
Yeah.
Alabama puts 70 on Georgia and holds them to like a field goal in the 4th quarter. And they're going up to like rank 2nd or something. Michigan wins, they go in. Oregon beats Washington in this case as well. They go in. Now Florida State loses. Texas loses to Oklahoma State at home. And suddenly we don't have a single 0 or 1 win team that we like. We want to put it anymore. And we are getting number 1 Michigan, number 2 Alabama, number 3 Oregon, number 4 Liberty in the college football playoff. That's what I want.
Oh, God, that would be the worst playoffs of all time.
Actually put Bama at 1 because they beat Georgia so bad that even though they lost the game, they're ahead of Michigan, and the committee doesn't like Michigan. So Bama gets to play Liberty, and Oregon can beat Michigan, and then we get Oregon and Bama.
Wow.
That's
That's definitely a fantasy. I mean,
that is a fantasy bracket. Yeah.
Georgia has won 29 straight games, and they haven't been blown out since 2016.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's a tall order, man.
That's right.
I doubt that's gonna happen.
I guess another realistic scenario. Say if we said Alabama wins, I think Georgia goes in either way unless they lose really badly for some reason.
Yeah.
So Bama goes in, Georgia goes in, Michigan goes in.
Yeah. See, that is what would be great about Washington and Florida State losing, is that we can still get 2 SEC teams in
That's
there,
right.
along with Oregon, and
I guess it just needs one of them to lose, right?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if it is a last-second victory for Alabama, and they'll both be 12-1, they'll get in there. They need Washington to lose, and then Oregon will probably make it. They need Florida State to lose. Yeah. There's no way Michigan is losing, so we can go ahead and count that out. They're going to be 13-0 going into the playoff.
Yeah. The most difficult scenario I can see for committee would be Bama winning, and then all the other favorites also win. And then you have to put Michigan in, obviously. Mm-hmm. Say, like, Oregon winning as well. So, Bama winning, Oregon winning, you have to put Michigan in. You kind of have to put Bama in at that point. Florida State's undefeated, so they have to go in. And now you're making a decision, like, you think Georgia's been the best team all year. Do you leave both Washington and Oregon out? It could happen. There's a scenario where that happens.
Yeah, absolutely there is. I don't want to see that happen. I really want Georgia just to win clean, because the year, 2021, when both of them got in, Alabama and Georgia, it was already set pretty much that Georgia and Alabama were going to both make the playoffs as long as Alabama won. Greg Sankey, the leader of the SEC, that's exactly what he wanted. That's the scenario he wanted, and that's how it played out. And once again, Georgia and Alabama met in the championship, but I don't know that it's that cut and dry this year. I mean, I'd have to look at the time frame to see. And this is all conspiracy theory at this point. I'd have to look at when these games are actually going to be played and what we will know before the Georgia-Alabama game starts.
We know the Washington-Oregon result.
Yeah, the Oregon's going to win. Yeah.
We know that before Georgia-Bama. Mm-hmm. Well ahead of time. So if Washington wins, we know Oregon's out. And I think if Washington wins, if Bama then wins, both SEC teams are going in, because Oregon's no longer a threat.
Yeah, and
unless Florida State wins, in which case is
yeah. Well, man, that's tough. Unfortunately, I do not think Washington can beat Oregon at this time. Oregon is just that good. I've been saying it all season, so. That they won on a prayer the first time they met, and Oregon is way better right now than they were then.
I agree with that. Oregon's been looking great.
Yeah, I said it 6 weeks ago. Put money on Oregon to be in the playoffs.
Plus, they still get the sympathy vote for just being the breaks off Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. Did the College World a favor.
Most likable team, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going. My fantasy bracket for sure: Bama, Michigan, Oregon, Liberty, and my realistic-ish bracket: Georgia, Michigan, probably Florida State, and then anyone between Washington, Bama, and Oregon.
Yeah. I just hope it's either all 12-0 teams win, or at least 2 of them lose.
Yeah, that would at least be like a no debate kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If they all win, it's very clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's gonna happen? All right, we will see what happens. You can leave your comments as well about the college world, as well as these NFL games for Week 13. So we have a great weekend of football ahead. We have Oregon, Washington, Friday night. We have Bama, Georgia Saturday, and then the Niners and the Eagles on Sunday. What more can you want? Sounds good. Sounds amazing to me. So it's going to be a great weekend. Drop us a like on this video and let us know what you think about all these games. Do you have anything to add for this NFL week?
Oh, that's it for this week.
All right. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha. Check.